Good morning, folks. How is everybody this morning? Good. Happy 5th of July. Hope everybody had a great day yesterday. My name is Michelle Lonergan, and I work with Local First, who's the sponsor of the Chef Series. And Local First is an organization that believes in creating sustainable local economies. And we do that by supporting our local businesses all along the lakeshore and in Grand Rapids. So I want to point out to you that one of the ways we do this is create a guide to local living. And this is our new one. It was just hot off the presses a couple weeks ago. We have it out on the table out there. So make sure you pick yourself up a copy if you have not already, because it lists all the great local companies all along the lakeshore and in Grand Rapids. We believe in shopping local and eating local. So that's what we're here for this morning, right? We're here to learn how to make the most of our local produce. And I'm very pleased to introduce Tom Hoover this morning. So Tom is the executive chef for Hope College Dining. He's a certified member of the American Culinary Federation and was voted Chef of the Year by the Greater Grand Rapids chapter of ACF in 2007. All right. Hoover's in charge of culinary development and implementation at Hope Student Dining, which entails creating menus and developing recipes that draw upon his expertise with international cuisine and large-scale dining. I'd say those Hope College students are pretty lucky, huh? Wow.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. And when not working at Hope, I think this is pretty cool, Chef Hoover volunteers at the Rescue Mission's Culinary Training Program and serves as a member of the Michigan Tech Advisory Board. He has also participated in numerous educational farm-to-table programs, including the recent summer program sponsored by Hope Children's After School Achievement, CASA program, designed to expose at-risk school children to the connection between the food grown in the fields around Holland and the food that ends up on their table. That's awesome, Chef. So, without further ado, I think Chef is going to be focusing on ancient grains. I can't wait to see what you're going to do this morning, Chef. Take it away.
That's enough about me. Let's talk about you. Today, I'm not on? I'm not on? Am I on? Yes. Okay, let's talk about ancient grains. What are ancient grains, you might ask me? Well, they're really old, duh. Ancient grains, for want of another category, everybody likes to make up names for classifications. Ancient grains are a classification of grains that have been with us for thousands and thousands of years. Some of these grains I'm going to use today are among some of the first crops that mankind ever learned how to grow in an organized agricultural manner. A lot of these come from the Golden Crescent there in the Middle East between the Tigris and Euphrates in the valley there. A lot of them originated in that area. A lot of them originated in Africa. And for the most part, ancient grains are extremely drought resistant. They have within them natural healthful benefits, meaning they're not highly processed. There aren't any vitamins added to them, similar to like your Uncle Ben's rice will be polished. Sometimes they'll add riboflavin to it. Sometimes they'll add some other things to it. Ancient grains typically don't need this. They come already filled with the things that many of us are looking for today as far as healthful ingredients. Antioxidant properties, low fat, low glycemic index, gluten-free. Many of these are gluten-free. And full of, like I said, natural vitamins, your B12 riboflavins, C's, D, things that you can get just naturally by eating these grains and would help you not have to use supplemental vitamins. Plus, as I'm going to show you today, ancient grains can be added to some traditional or non-traditional foods in order to make the dish just that much more special, add some variety, add some texture, some special flavor. a little bit of an extra kick to your dishes that you're going to make. The first one I'm going to do today is listed in the folder as an amaranth pepper salad. Typically it's got amaranth and peppers and tomatoes and some olives and raisins for a little bit of extra sugar, a little bit of sweetness. But today, because of availability, I don't have any amaranth, so this is what you do with recipes. Recipes are a guide. Recipes kind of help you get there. But sometimes you got to realize that recipes are somebody else's idea. Make them your own. Be creative. So today, instead of amaranth, which I didn't have on hand, I decided that I was going to add some millet, teff, and what else here? Kasha. These three grains are among some of the oldest grains that we have. Teff, you typically see this in northern African cuisine. It's like a grass seed, very tiny, like poppy seed, like a red-colored poppy seed. And then the kasha is also used a lot in African, Middle Eastern area. Again, high drought-resistant crop, and it's very easily grown and processed. Millet, again, mostly in the Middle Eastern region. And I'm going to pass around the three here in a raw form so you can see what they look like. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to put this salad together. Just start there and just go on around. So this is really easy, just kind of a throw together thing. We have the tomatoes, we have red onion, and just a little bit of jalapeno pepper in there. We have some beautiful bell peppers. Those are coming in like gangbusters right now. And as this is a sort of a Middle Eastern, or as they call them technically the Levantine coast, that's another word you can go back home and go, hey, I learned what else they call the Middle East, the Levantine coast. It's a very Mediterranean salad. So we'll have some black olives in there. Your raisins. And then the grain mix. This is kind of what it turns out to look like. I cooked it. There is a cooking method in your pamphlet, which kind of applies for not only amaranth, but it applies for most of the ancient grains. You cook them to your own taste, whether you like them soft or whether you like them finished out to be a little bit al dente. Myself, I like to finish them out a little bit al dente. A lot of these recipes, all these recipes today, you want to finish your grains a little bit al dente because you're going to be cooking with them, so you'll probably finish them, the grains will be fairly soft. And surprisingly, even though the teff and the millet look seed-like, as you can see, they turn out fairly soft, not hard, so they won't get in between your teeth or anything. And you notice that I'm really measuring carefully. So this is another thing about being creative when you cook and have fun. Yeah, sure, like I said, follow the recipe as a guide to get you in that ballpark, but then sometimes you just got to make something and look at it and go, that looks like it needs something. Go ahead and add it. And then the recipe calls for roasted red pepper strips, cut roasted red pepper and then cut it into strips. Again, I modified the recipe a little bit. It called for to mix the salad with a balsamic vinaigrette. I just took my roasted red pepper and made a vinaigrette out of that. And then that's what I'm going to use for the salad. So we're going to toss it. I like to get my hands right in there. Gives me a good feel for how much is in there. And this, unlike a lot of folks when they dress a salad with leaves, leafy greens, you always want to hold back on your dressing a little bit. Do not overdress your salad. Try not to do that. With something like this, where it's basically a vegetable salad, you kind of want to go the other way and add a little bit more. Make it a little bit more saucy. Saucy. So that's it. That's all there is to this salad. Something you could put together in about 5 minutes once you've got the veggies all cut up. And look at that. It's just gorgeous. Somebody asking a question? You can source these grains at our local health food stores here in town, Apple Valley, Nature's Way. Or Nature's Market, I'm sorry, Nature's Way is a company. Or there's other places in Grand Rapids that you can source these from. Also, there's a lot of folks online that sell these. Right here in the Midwest, actually, there's a few companies. So if you go online, so there's that. The next thing we're going to do is a traditional dish throughout the Middle East and even into Asia. And this dish is called kibbe. And it is a fried croquette made with millet. And typically they will add, you'll see lamb in the middle. You make a, think of it as making a meatball mixture or meatloaf mixture. You would take the millet and in this case, chicken, or like I said, you could use lamb. You can use beef. Some places in Africa have goat. If you got a goat laying around somewhere, go ahead and use goat. It just has many, many, many variations. And if anybody's familiar with the dish, the falafel dish that you see will be sold in stands and whatever out in the street, this too, kibbe, is this is a street food also. You'll see this everywhere. And typically what they'll do is they'll form the dough or form the mixture, and then they'll put it on kebabs like this. And then they'll grill it. And you can do that today. I'm going to kind of pan fry them just for practical purposes. But it's another pretty easy process. The recipe calls for the millet. You can use it in raw form. Or I slightly cooked mine. I just cooked it al dente.
Is that the bulgur?
Bulgur, I'm sorry, not millet. It's bulgur. And bulgur is a form of wheat. And you can see once you start looking for bulgur, it comes in a lot of different forms. There's fine grind, there's coarse grind, there's cracked. For kibbe, typically you want to use either a coarse grind or a fine grind. This I used a coarse grind because I wanted a little bit more of a meatiness to it. Fine grind, once you mix the mixture together, is a little bit smoother. Okay. So what you do is, the recipe calls for your bulgur, chicken, jalapenos, onions. Now it calls for yogurt, and what I did was I left the yogurt out because I wanted the mixture to be a little bit stiffer. Yogurt, the plain yogurt, will add a little bit more moisture to the mixture. But what I did was I left it out, and I made a dip with the yogurt, an Indian dip called raita. Just because I didn't want a whole lot of moisture in this, because I knew I was going to be dumping it into oil, and you didn't want a lot of flare-up. And then olive oil, and then parsley and cilantro, and then some mint, cumin, allspice, cinnamon, black pepper, and cayenne. This is a typical Middle Eastern spice blend. And here's the cumin, the allspice, the cinnamon, black pepper, cayenne. If you pass that around, this will give you an idea of what this dish smells like and what the flavors will be once you're finished with this.
Here's a question.
Yes?
Can you substitute anything for the bulgur?
You can substitute, for the bulgur, you can substitute, like, you could take,
That's gluten-free.
oh, that's gluten-free. Quinoa,
Buckwheat.
buckwheat, brown rice. You could mix up brown rice. What you're going to do is you take this whole list of ingredients that I told you and put it into a food processor and let it go until it gets to the right consistency, and it'll be a consistency similar to this. Fairly stiff, so it doesn't fall out. And then you form them traditionally, you form them into little football shapes. I didn't do a real good job. It's kind of football shape. But roll them out into, you can just roll them out into meatballs, but then you can flatten them out and make kind of like a football shape. If you Google kibbe, you'll see some beautiful football shape, but I'm a little bit sculpturally challenged, so this is what happens. So you want your oil in your pan. If you're going to pan fry these, a little bit medium. You don't want it to get too hot. And then you just plop them in here. And there we go. We'll do 6. 6 is a good number. And then typically once you've browned them, you want them to go medium heat. Because if you throw them in your oil when the oil is very, very hot, all you're going to do is get the outsides done and the insides won't be done. So slow and steady is the name of the game with these. And once they're cooked, traditionally what they'll do is they'll put a little bit of a glaze sauce on them. In the Middle East, they'll have pomegranate molasses. But most places will use a little bit of olive oil, some molasses, and just a touch of soy sauce. Mix that together. And when these come out and they're done, you just brush them or you dump a little bit of that sauce over, ready to go.
Would you repeat that?
Repeat that? You weren't listening?
No.
Do you want to stand up in front of the rest of the class and explain why you weren't listening? Were you passing notes? Is that the thing? Okay.
I'm writing them.
Oh, okay. Okay. Pomegranate molasses you can use straight up as a glaze for these. Or a little bit of soy sauce, plain blackstrap molasses, and some olive oil. Okay. One other thing, I want to go back to the pepper salad. When you're making your vinaigrette, this is the time when you use that really good, expensive extra virgin olive oil that you bought and spent a fortune on, and it's sitting in the cabinet and you have no idea what to do. When you make a vinaigrette, that's what that oil is good for. So when you're making a vinaigrette for this salad or any other salad, use the good stuff. Because the dressing, the vinaigrette's going to be kind of front and center. So you don't want to use just any old whatever olive oil. That's the time for that expensive stuff that you buy down at the stores and stuff in downtown that have really expensive olive oil.
I know she was using this oil before.
Yes. The oil that I'm using is Zoy oil. Zoy oil is made here locally in Zealand. It's produced from soybeans and processed in such a manner that folks with soy allergies can use it. So there's soybeans in the process, but in the end, they are denatured, so to speak, so that folks with allergy problems don't really have issues with it.
Those are organic soy?
Huh?
Is it organic soybeans?
I believe so. So we have our kibbe going, getting nice and brown here. Patience, patience. You gotta have patience. And you can see they're browning up nicely. You want them to be typically a dark caramel brown. Okay? You'll think, oh my gosh, I've gone ahead and burnt these. It's fine. You want to get them pretty dark. And again, through the magic of the internet, if you look on the internet, you'll see pictures of them, and yeah, they're pretty dark brown. So. Okay, so the next thing, we're going to do Korean barbecue tacos with no meat. We're going to do them with mushrooms, and the recipes are in your pamphlet. Very, very hot item right now, Korean barbecue. So I wanted to do my take on it that was meat-free, and introduced another type of ancient grain called freekeh. In the recipes, I said use farro. Farro and freekeh are fairly close together. In fact, they're almost the same species. And I'll pass this around, and you can see the difference, which is very, very slim. And freekeh, if you think about freekeh is barley, like a barley. So you know how you get barley and you cook it and you like to have it to be al dente and kind of a little bit chewy. Freekeh and farro behave the same way. So you would cook these like you would cook barley. So what I did was I pre-cooked my freekeh. I got my freekeh on. And then what you're going to do is get your pan hot. And I wanted to show you, in the recipe it calls for cleaning the gills using portobello mushroom and taking the gills out. Why do I do that? Well, if you think about it, this is the waste treatment part of the plant. This is where the plant gets rid of all the nastiness that it can't use to grow. What happens is when you put this in a dish, it tends to make the dish muddy. It also adds a little bit of a weird bitterness to the dish, a foresty mustiness, the kind of foresty mustiness you don't really want. So I usually, with these, I'll take the gill right out, and you just take a spoon, and you just go around like that. Very simple, very easy, get most of it out. You could do this for any mushroom. I just typically was going to show you how to do this with the larger mushrooms, but with your smaller mushrooms, you could do the same thing. And then de-stem it, and there you go. You're ready to cut it up. Then also in this dish, you're going to want to marinate your mushrooms. And the recipe calls for you to marinate your mushrooms, but no more than 2 hours, or no more than 8 hours, but at least 2 hours. Mushrooms are mostly water, so it kind of takes a little while for them to take a marinade. And I've done the pretty traditional marinade for this, soy sauce. I have to look and see what I did. Soy sauce, and I used gluten-free, low-sodium soy sauce. Water, a little bit of sugar. In this case, I used brown sugar, garlic, sesame oil, ginger, black pepper, and scallions. Sesame oil, be careful with. It can overwhelm a dish. So have a light hand with your sesame oil. It's just a flavor enhancer. It's not a way of life, so don't use it like you would olive oil or something like that. Bing just a little bit, and you've got enough. And if you follow the amounts on that recipe, that'll get you in the ballpark. And I had some green onions, so I added a little bit of green onion to the marinade, and then cut up my mushrooms. And here they are, all nice and beautiful. Huh?
You have H-O-I-S.
Oh, hoisin sauce. We're going to get to the hoisin sauce later.
On the back. On the back.
Yeah, it's on the back. Yeah. I ran out of room in Publisher. So you take your mushrooms. And then it calls for paprika. We'll put a little bit of paprika in there. Ginger. Minced, fresh, if possible. Powdered's okay. And garlic, in this case, I'm using something really interesting, and I'll pass it around for you guys to see. Korean black garlic. Wonderful, wonderful ingredient. Again, you can go online and get this ingredient, but what it is it's not a fermented product. It's imagine a garlic clove that's been slowly roasted, brought up to a certain temperature and then brought back down, brought up to a higher temperature and brought back down over the course of several days. It's a patented process. There's a fella that actually started a company that makes it, and he started in the early 2000s, late 1990s, and it just overtook the culinary world. A lot of chefs went crazy over it, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful addition, and now it's kind of like a hallmark in a lot of Korean dishes. It's black garlic. Kind of an essential in making their barbecue, a lot of folks think. I don't really think you need it, but it's awfully nice to have. So I'll pass it around, and you can smell this. This smells like you just want to like eat this, and you can eat this stuff.
Where do you use the soy sauce?
The soy sauce was in the marinade.
Oh, okay.
Read your materials. So here's the kibbe, as you can see. Fairly dark brown. And these are delicious. I really encourage you to give those a try. And then I have here cucumber, a little bit of cucumber, dill, and plain yogurt. And you can use this to dip your kibbe in. And then so we're going to add to the taco mushrooms the freeka. There we go. And if you want, it'll dry out a little bit. You can add a little bit of the marinade to this. Not going to hurt a thing. There's the chef flip for you, right there. Anybody want to come try this? Whoa! When I was first learning to do that, I almost like covered a whole front row. So here's the molasses and soy sauce and a little bit of oil, soy oil. Just right over these. And that's the kibbe. Made with bulgur. Okay, so we're going to let the mushroom filling go a little bit, and then we're going to build some tacos. I have here some corn tortillas, white corn tortillas. I like white corn tortillas. Oh yes, you in the back.
What if you don't like mushrooms? What would you substitute instead?
Tofu. You like tofu?
No, like,
Boy, you're really difficult. You're being difficult.
Don't make the recipe.
You can put think hearty cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, asparagus, carrots. You can just substitute those. It's going to change your nutritional value a little bit, okay? The mushrooms are in here for a little bit of protein, but you could add those vegetables, and the farro or the freekeh is going to get you there as far as like nutritional value, okay? So if you don't like mushrooms, I like them, but I'm not like crazy about them too, so I fully understand, okay? White tortilla, you can use yellow corn tortillas or flour tortillas. I'll be a little disappointed in you, but that's okay. White corn tortillas, I just like them because of the flavor and the texture. So we've let this simmer for a little while. And I think the recipe says about 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, I think we're going to be ready to go. So I have here some toppings. Carrots, shredded radicchio, some cabbage, and then I've got some golden beet, some icicle radish, and apples. Ooh. Apples you'll see in Korean barbecue. If you look up a lot of other sauce recipes, they have as many different kind of barbecue recipes as we do here in America. The Korean barbecue typically will contain apples. They really love apples. It should be like the country's representative fruit. So you'll see a lot of apples in a lot of their stuff. So that's why I threw in the apples. Plus, it adds like a nice little bit of a crunch and a little bit of a little more mystery to the dish also. Huh?
Do you peel the apples?
No, I don't. I don't. I like to leave the peels on because then you can get red, green, and yellow ones, and to be pretty, it just adds to the color. So there's that. Please turn off your cell phones during the presentations, or leave the room. I'm sorry. I'm just in a mood to shame and humiliate people this morning. I don't know what it is. So there we go, the apples. Little beet. Little radish. And we'll do it again. And you can get quite a few tacos out of the amount that's in that recipe. Let's do it this way then. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, the house, what is that?
Huh?
The house, H-O-I.
Ah, the hoisin sauce. Thank you for pointing out my flaw. The hoisin sauce, I meant to take it and you spread a little bit of it on your tortilla. And hoisin sauce is another one of those ingredients you're in the Asian store and you go, wow, this sounds really good. And then it sits in your refrigerator for a year and a half and you have no idea what to do with it. Good addition to barbecue sauce if you're making your own barbecue sauce. And as I said, you can use it as a condiment to spread on but they'll put them on your tortillas and then put your rest of your stuff on. It just adds another little layer of flavor to the proceedings.
Is hoisin sauce fish meat?
Huh?
Is it fish meat?
No. You were thinking of oyster sauce, which has fish in it, typically. Oysters or who knows, whatever. But hoisin is bean paste, basically soybean based. Fermented soybeans, actually.
Is the farro free?
The farro is related to wheat, so unfortunately it isn't.
Can you substitute?
You can substitute. And as I told folks before, if you search the internet for ancient grains, a lot of the websites right off the bat will tell you what the gluten situation is for any given grain and what the glycemic index is, because those are two important factors and two of the big advantages with ancient grains, as I said before. A lot of them are gluten-free. A lot of them do have low sugar content.
What would you substitute for the farro to be gluten-free?
You can substitute not bulgur, the millet mixture that I had here. This I cooked a little bit soft. You could leave it a little more al dente. So that gluten-free. Okay, I'm not going to eat this in front of you. I thought about it, but you guys have been really good, and so I won't. Don't tempt me. Who is that? Devil, is that you? You guys have been great. Thanks for coming. Any more questions? Yes. If you bake your kibbe, you're going to get it's going to be not that much different. But do you get is it crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside typically? Yeah. That's all the difference you want to make. You want to make sure that with your kibbe that it's got a nice crust on the outside and soft on the inside. Sometimes you'll see they'll take the kibbe and people will make a meatball out of the lamb, and then they'll have the paste, the grain paste, the bulgur paste, and they'll put that around, and then they'll cook it in such that the grain part of it is all crunchy, and you're just getting this crunch right before you get into the meat. Mine, I just mix it all together, like a meatloaf, like I said. Works out good.
Can you, okay, I've heard of rice paper or rice something or other instead of tortillas, because I'm allergic to corn and food.
Good idea.
Where do you find the rice paper?
Rice paper, the Asian markets usually typically have that, and it's in the aisle usually with the noodles. You'll see them, they'll be square or they'll be round.
I thought they'd be good for baklava.
Uh-huh, yep. You could use it for baklava just like you would phyllo dough. Rice paper is a good idea for instead of tacos too, if you really wanted to really lighten things up. And you could actually even make little mini burritos out of this. And then the good thing about rice paper is once you have gotten it going and gotten it, you hydrolyze it or put it in water, and then you take it out, and then you roll your stuff in it. It's transparent. You can see the fixings inside, so it's really pretty to do.
Sticks together.
Yeah.
Vegetable grease.
Yeah. Yep. Anybody else? Yes.
Could put that in a wonton.
Yes. Yep. See, you guys are like, just take those recipes and take off. You know, that's what you got to do. That was last week. I shaved and went down to the river and took a bath this morning because it was snowing last week. So
Do you have a good recipe for buckwheat to make it edible?
Yeah, make soba noodles out of it. Make noodles out of it. That's pretty good. Buckwheat noodles. Look that up on the internet.
Pancakes.
Pancakes are good, yeah, because then you can disguise it with maple syrup. Yeah. Buckwheat noodles. It's an art form. Look it up on the internet. Soba noodles. I have buckwheat flour that I use at work that sometimes I'll make buckwheat noodles, make lasagna. Again, disguising that buckwheat. I know what you're saying. It's an acquired taste. Well, folks, nobody else has any questions? Said you better not. Oh, teff. Teff is it's a grass. Typically, it'll look like a grass, and I call it like proto-wheat. Very, very ancient. Going back probably 3,500, 4,000 years. One of the first, along with amaranth, crops that people found that they could actually grow in an organized fashion. It's, like you saw, it's like a very tiny seed. And the reason why folks back then would grow it is because they didn't quite have irrigation down pat yet. So this plant, this grass, they found out that they could eat, and it was palatable. And if there was a month without rain, it wasn't going to die on them. So just by selection, they happened to settle on this, and from there it actually began in the Middle East, but these days teff is very, very associated with African cuisine. They use a lot of it in their cuisine in Ethiopia, Nigeria, in that the Horn of Africa going all the way over to the northern Africa and all the way over to the coast. Not so much in the south, but northern equatorial Africa, you'll see teff everywhere.
I get teff that's brown. I never saw the red before.
That's because mine's really good.
What's the difference between the brown and the red?
There's a different variety, just like you would have different varieties of brown rice. There's like a Wehani brown rice that's red, and then there's regular brown rice that's brown, and every other shade in between. It just depends on the variety. You can do all three. What I did with this was the teff, I just got some near boiling water. You could even take hot water out of your tap and just soak it in there. And soak it for 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And like I said, it's a seed. It's not going to get too soft on you. But the kasha and the other that I put in the mix, I knew were going to get a little bit soft. I wanted something with a little bite to it, so I put the teff in there. All good? Thank you. Mass is ended. Go in peace. Thank you, thank you, thank you.